welcome to our panel on how to spend all your money on the first day of a con. So I'm walking around Sunday, I can't buy that, can't buy that, I can't buy that. I blew it all on Friday.
So Planet FunCon, how you doing? Excellent, excellent. Great to hear. Thanks for joining us for the Ed and Eddy reunion with Matt Hill and Sam Vincent.
Hello. Except Eddie's not here.
He's with us in spirit.
Okay.
He's not forming a scam somewhere.
Yeah. Well, he did make sure that he wanted everybody to know for sure he loves you all, and if he could be here, he would.
No, that's not what I would say.
You really didn't say that.
Give me a quarter.
Well, my two esteemed panelists here have a very long CV of animated characters. To read that would take the entire panel. Just kind of get this started out here. What got you both into voice acting? What are your origin stories?
Oh, I love we get origin stories.
The origin.
Back issues.
Is that an origami?
Yeah.
Oregon.
Well, let's start with the oldest person here.
I'm 100, that's right.
There's going to be a lot of friendly.
Age is but a number.
Yeah,
That's right.
age is but a number. Well,
thank you, sister.
to be honest, Maddie got involved in this whole animation world before I did. This dude, Captain N, I don't know if you guys, some of you know Captain N. Now that was...
That's how freaking old I am.
But Maddie was the young hero in Captain N, so I have to defer to him because I wasn't even in voice when Captain N was happening yet. So tell us, how did it all start?
I'm so old. Yeah, I mean, Sammy was in diapers, right? Like you were like,
I was 17, but it's still true.
Too much. Yeah, I mean, it's, what was the question? What was that? Our origin, right? I got stuck on Oregon. Yeah, okay, there we go. For me, like voiceover specific, like I started this crazy amazing business when I was, I decided I wanted to be an actor when I was 13. For some reason I thought my life was half over by that point. I have no idea, so I was like, all right, let's do this. And went down, I got an agent, and she sent me out for one of my first auditions. And thankfully, it was at the time of the Christmas, so it was near Christmas time. And I got my first gig, and he was playing Santa's lead elf at the Christmas display downtown in Vancouver. So yeah, literally, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so at 14 years old, I literally, because Christmas, thank God, it's like my favorite holiday anyhow. So it was really authentic for me to be able to also, be like, don't forget, Santa Claus is coming. And I kind of did a voice like this, not knowing other things that were going to come from it. But yeah, I mean, that was literally the kickstart for me in this crazy, amazing world of performing and voiceovers and stuff was, saying, don't forget to see Santa Claus. He'll be all the way here till Christmas Eve. And because I'm Catholic, I'd be like, and God bless us, everyone. Have a Merry Christmas. So that was it.
Was this pre-mullet or?
Oh yeah, I had a full mullet. I had a full.
This man
He actually had to tuck it up into my
incredible mullet back in the day. The best rock mullet I've ever seen.
Buddy.
Yeah, I wish we could pull up a photo right now. It was glorious.
Yeah. Go back and what is that IMDb? Oh, I had some good mullet rolls.
Yeah. Quintessential 80s, right?
What about you, Sam?
Well, I wasn't an elf. It was for Santa, but my first theatrical role was in grade 7, Darcy the Dragon. But before that, it was.
I thought you were a great dragon.
Huh?
You were a great dragon.
I was. It was my first role. I don't know. I was grade 7. But actually, the first. Okay, just a little side note because we were talking about Christmas. Anyway, in daycare, my brother and I were in daycare, and they wanted to put the nativity scene for Christmas. And my younger brother, Gabe, who is an actor, he passed away a few years ago, but he and I were in daycare, and my brother was small. I'm not the biggest guy in the world, but he was small, right? He was he was a Ninja Turtle too in the series, Leonardo, and but it was like, okay, it's time to cast a nativity scene. We need different children for blah blah blah. And my brother, of course, got to be baby Jesus because he was the smallest, and he got to fit in the thing. And they're like, and then one of our other friends, Jessica, was supposed to be one of the sheep, but she didn't want to do it. So it was like, Sam, you're gonna have to be the sheep. And I was like, and then it was like, I had to put on these like white leotards and it's just like, you know, it was like the nativity scene. I was just kind of the most miserable sheep ever. Just look at my brother with this, he's like, oh, look at baby Jesus. And I was really like, bah. Bah, humbug. But anyways, that wasn't my first foray into acting really, but high school, kind of similar thing in high school. My bro and I were doing theater and theater sports, and it was just at a great time in Vancouver. The film industry was starting to happen, and I had the good fortune of having a friend who was already had an agent and was involved in this thing called Vancouver Youth Theater, and there was the woman who ran it also had an agency specifically geared to young people, kids, for television and film, and I managed to get in there. You know, and at 15, that was kind of my first foray into professional acting, and I got on some, you know, shows, and then I discovered we could do voice work. And there's one guy at the time, his name was Doug Parker, who's done a lot of voice work. He actually did some voice work on Captain Ed, but he also got onto the casting side of things. And my first audition for a show, cartoon, was this thing called Dragon Warrior, which was a Japanese-based IP. It wasn't called Dragon Warrior in Japan, but it was based on yes, Dragon Quest. So they decided to test it out in English. They did 13 episodes. That was my first anime dub ever, and it didn't continue on, but we did 13, and I kind of got my feet wet on that, and then slowly but surely started doing getting more auditions and doing more anime dubs. First prelay series I think I did was Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars. I was
AFC Blinky reporting, sir. I've tested the jetpack.
and so that was cool. And I just built, slowly but surely started to get more auditions, and kind of like, Maddie, we'd often see each other at auditions and started to work together and be more stuff together, and it was like, but Ed
borrow things that we were doing from each other,
Yeah.
It's like, what did you just do that sound? Do that sound.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was part of it. So we steal each other's material, right? So that's kind of the beginning of it, yeah.
What keeps you both coming back to acting?
Because I don't know how to do anything else. I'm like, got to an age, it's like, what are my options here? I've kind of put all my eggs into one basket, and it's either this or I'm going to go, but I was going to say work at Tim Hortons, but that doesn't really work in America. But in Canada, Canadians would go, oh yeah, Tim Hortons, I know Tim Hortons.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Duff, this guy, it's either Duff and Donuts or voice acting. I think I like voice acting better, and fortunately, we're managing to be able to continue to do that. And also, we're at this weird age now where people come up to us and say, you're my childhood, and that kind of trips us out a bit. And it's kind of, we're at a place now where it's just being able to meet people who tell you, I watched you as a kid and thank you for this and that and the other thing, and I'm trying, what is my best wise and old voice? You're welcome, thank you. But we're kind of there now where it's a blessing to just like continue to do some work, but also now coming out and kind of seeing the fruits of our labor in memories, childhood memories. That's awesome, because I have my nostalgia from my youth, and the circle is like, when you get to a point when you actually impacted people, you're like, wow, this is trippy. Very happy about it.
It's wild too. It's the same thing, Sammy. It's like, I thank the fact that for whatever reason at 13, I thought my life was half over, but I realized it was because I wanted to be an actor my whole life. Right, because singing and dancing underneath like the streetlight in the cul-de-sac that we grew up in, and hanging out with my friends, and being our like favorite rock stars of the day or whatever, and it was true then, and it's still true now, right? So every time we get a role, I still get that, like I still get a goosebump, right? So it was always what I told myself is, if you still didn't get the goosebumps getting a new role, it's time to leave the biz. And same thing, I've been in it so long that, like, ooh, what else would I do? I'd probably just be that guy outside of Starbucks.
God bless us, everyone. Come on in, you want a double-double? Or...
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, like I added up, so I think officially I've been, like I'm in my 43rd year now. It's just like, what the what? How does that work, right? Yeah, we've known each other for like, what, 30?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
30 years.
Yeah.
Let's sort of hone into your show, Ed, and Eddy. One of the most popular shows, original shows, of the Cartoon Network. Won awards, broadcast over 100 countries. What do you think draws people to this show?
Just the relatability. I don't know of the atmosphere, the characters. I mean, even though the characters are so unique and quirky and outrageous, somehow every person that is a fan of the show manages to latch onto someone on that show and just gets a huge kind of like connection, identity connection. Like, you know, they just go, boom, that I get that character, and I don't know, it's, you need to have Danny here to answer that too, because he's such an integral part to the creation of that universe. And I think also that Danny is such a huge animation fan of the traditional animation. Like, he was hardcore, Tex Avery, the old school stuff, and he was passionate about good animation. And it's reflected in what he created. He created a kind of like a timeless classic that has longevity. And it's very rare to get to be part of something like that.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's the characters, it's such an animation show too. If you just take away, I'm very proud of what we all did with the voice acting, just from a pure animation aspect, the things, the original look of the show, the physical slapstick stuff that he created, like the ideas that the storyboard artists, and it came from Danny's brain to try and create these incredible visual moments of just ridiculousness that would happen between like Ed, what's in his mouth, versus what we were doing physically within the whole show. Amazing stuff.
No, very true. It's like, it's funny in animation, especially a lot of the time you'll have pickups because they'll write the show long, right? So you'll have to go and fix stuff in post or whatever. And then Eddy's the only show we've ever worked on. We never did pickups because it was that good that Danny also said, you're not getting released from the session till we get it right. And so like sometimes it would drive us nuts. We're like, oh my God, how many times do I have to say, like, I love chickens, Eddy? Daddy'd be like, it doesn't sound like Ed. Okay, I love chickens, Eddy. All right, if that's all you got, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But we love that, right? Because it's,
The only time there was ever a pickup, it usually had to do with something that Cartoon Network said, we can't say this or something like that. That was the only
Practices and
thing.
standards.
Yeah, practices and standards.
Yeah.
But, and part of that too is like, it was such an animation show, is that we had like an 11-minute segment. The storyboards were that thick, 3-panel storyboards, right? And before we recorded, we went, like, they gave it to you beforehand and said, look at your panels and know what's going on in the show.
Yeah.
It wasn't just read the script, it was script and storyboard, because everything was laid out, all the action, and we went through it so you knew exactly what was going on with the physicality and all that stuff. And that's the only show that I've ever done where there was that level of like, you have to get this the way it is and the way it's in Danny's brain.
Well, it was amazing because that strictness of it, like we couldn't even take a breath pause if it didn't fit in the way that Danny heard it in his brain. But because I've often had people ask going, oh my God, the show felt so loose and so, were you guys allowed to riff and stuff like that? It was like, oh no. Do it the way it was written and get that, in syncopated style of the, of the scene or whatever we were doing. And that was the rhythm of the show, right? So
I remember there was one, I had never very few times gave any suggestions for anything because it was already created, but I remember one time the dialogue was, I just couldn't say, I said, there's some of this blah 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 for you, and you said rabbit.
I am
And
rabbit.
I was like, Danny, he wouldn't say there's a rabbit. He would say that's a bunny. And Danny goes, he's like, you're right. Okay, change it to bunny. And I was like, yes, I made an impact. I changed the show, you know. So
Was that in your contract? I never got to do that.
Like, for me, it was like a win when Danny gave me the nod. He's like,
Yeah.
all right, change it to bunny.
Like, I always thought Danny liked Sam a lot more than me because literally he'd be like, I'd be almost sweating and like my lungs would be bleeding, my everything would be like, and for one laugh, right? It'd be like, you know, like, and he'd be like, no, it doesn't sound like Ed, right? Or whatever. I'm like, so then we get through it and then we finally get the pass, right? You know, and then we can move on to the next scene and, you know.
Well, to be honest, it's because I got up in the morning and I read my script and I was doing my homework. And of course, you know, when you do your homework and you're a good student, you succeed in life, Ed. Oh, I want that so much for you.
And it's like, that was the only show that they actually took me aside. This is the God honest truth. I was, after the first like 12 episodes, they said, yes, I could look at the script with you guys, but I couldn't pre-read the script beforehand because it was throwing me off because I was trying to like actor it too much. They're like, you gotta be like Ed, you gotta be coming out of like left field, you gotta be coming up from below, right?
Yeah.
And so thank God, because it allowed me to just like that come into our read-through and like I sometimes would just like literally look at the pictures. I wouldn't even know what the fuck. Is it okay to swear? I wouldn't even know what the fuck I was about to say because they always wanted me to be. It was scary as an actor because right, we're used to, you know, learn your lines, know your character's motivation. They're like, no, we want Ed to be Ed, right? So I'm like, how do I do that? They're just like, don't read the fucking script.
Yeah, you were like the king of non sequiturs. Because that was this whole thing. It would be like out of left field and just like, that was your character. That was what made it so hilarious. Is like we'd be talking about this and then Ed's always like, I like that, and you'd be like, what? But that's what made you so
I like that
hilarious.
plank. You have a nice plank, sir. That's very nice.
Oh boy.
Johnny on the plank. We're gonna get Johnny up to.
Yeah.
So then when
Did we answer your question, sir?
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you.
When recording, then do you have to do it sort of individually, or do you get to record all together?
Well, the format for the, because there's like, they wanted to, the way it was, the contract for us going in is 4-hour sessions, and they didn't want to go into past 4-hour sessions because you get into overtime, they have to pay us more, they don't want to pay us more, so the best way for them to make use of the time is that they would take the supporting cast and record all them first, so you get like the Sarahs and the Cankers.
Well, because remember the first, I believe.
Maybe we tried it with everybody, and I think they decided it was like.
And we went into like we were like 8 hours, and we hadn't even gotten like an arena. They were just like never doing that again.
Yeah, I think maybe you're right. They tried to do full cast. They realized
so then they split us up.
No, so they took the Eds and they said we'll focus on the Eds. In the afternoon section,
Get them
in
when
the
they're
morning,
the best.
make sure they're all awake, and then we'll get the rest of the cast out. So that's how we kind of broke it up.
Yeah.
Eds together. So it was always the Eds in the rooms together, just for the chemistry.
Somehow we ended up in like the afternoon. So the 3 Eds.
Yeah.
Like like that's sometimes and not that we forgot about the rest of the cast. So I don't mean it that way, but it was wild because it was so insular that like thank God that the other amazing members of our cast recorded in the morning, because then we'd be like, oh hey guys, how's it going? Have a great session, and or sorry, they would say that to us, and otherwise it'd be like,
Yeah, and it kind of sucked just because it's half the fun of voice acting is getting to watch your other people do their thing. So we kind of missed out on that a bit, and then we'd have to wait to watch the show. But because they're so many great characters. It was just fun. Like everybody just it was so much fun to watch them lose their crap, or Janice to just like have a fit as Sarah, like yelling at Ed, or just and Peter Calamis' Rolf was so friggin' funny. Like, and that dude knows how to go off too. Like, he's so good at that. So that was.
Have you guys ever met Rolf, Peter? Yeah. No.
He's hilarious.
Yeah. I mean.
Yeah. So. Yeah, but it was good. It was
God.
good. It was about as good as it could get in terms of the recording sessions. Yeah.
Excellent. So at this point, I'm going to pause on my list of questions and open up to the audience, and we'll see where things go. So you can start taking some questions from fans. Yeah.
I don't know how to ask a question. So, me and my friend were just like discussing about the edits, like, you know how about this ADHD, autism. So, I don't know if you guys want to confirm this or not. So, one of them is ADHD, one of them is autistic, and one of them is OCD. Do you think that each character is one like that?
I mean, if you were going to try and give a clinical thing, I mean, you could definitely try and do that. I'm obviously the OCD, right?
No. Okay, buddy. Come on, it's okay.
Everything in his room is labeled.
Yeah.
I'm just confirming something there. All right. Messy. Oh dear, messy. Oh filth. Oh Brian. Oh dirt. Oh mother.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, I love the fact that people can take a show that they love and then they're going to analyze it and they're going to put, like I've heard the purgatory thing, and and I get it, like,
theories.
and honestly, I can only speak for myself, but I think like when Danny was creating the show, I don't know if honestly, I think he was building off his own childhood experiences and the people that were in his life a little bit. And so I don't know. I always find sometimes people go so deep with things and go, were people thinking this or thinking that? And I don't think there was any of that. But I always like the post-observational kind of like analysis of ADHD, OCD.
Well, it makes you realize too, we are all these characters, right? In our personalities and in our lives, and and I think that's also the genius of the way the show is written as well, right? And us getting the gift to be able to do these characters, that to me is the lasting legacy too of I mean, we're all on this fish together, everybody, right? So I love that. It sort of left it open for people to write, to make their own stories of it, and their own take on things.
Yeah.
But you're right, you're very OCD. That's okay.
And Eddie was more sociopathic in my opinion. It's just my analysis.
I personally, I have not showered for a month.
Yeah. Hygiene's a whole other issue.
Sorry.
That's
Sorry about the flies.
So you mentioned that Dan was really strict about just the vocal directions of these characters, but being that Ed, Edd n Eddy was such a long-running show, are there any character traits that were like inspired by a mistake or a vocal take? Something that your voice direction just kind of influenced something in the future that became a core part of the character?
Oh,
well, you know what? I mean, I got an example.
yeah, you go.
For like literally, I think we were on official callback number 8, which is like historically we'd never usually get a show after say 3 or 4 auditions or whatever. We were into like hey, you got to start paying them for these callbacks because they were trying to find us and the rest of the characters, right? Because Danny heard it all in his head, and I never do you remember that when it was like you, me, and Tony, right?
I remember the kind of that they had 2 trios of 3s or something that we kind of played around and switched it up.
And we knew we were kind of getting down to the wire, right? And so me personally as an actor, we just want to get the role finally. And so I remember that day when I was in there, and I think we were just doing one of those runs, and out of nowhere, I had no freaking idea why this came up, but you never do this as an actor. I'm like, excuse me! I went like that, and Chris, the engineer's going like, and I'm like, how do you get water from this thing here? And I saw Danny lose his shit on this. I swear to God, I thought, fuck, you're fired before you're even hired. Danny is yelling at, not Chris, but, our other engineer,
Wes?
Yeah, Wes, he was yelling at Wes going, did you get that on tape? Right? Did you get the, right? And all this, and Wes was like, yeah, I did. So he's like, play him the thing. And so for like those 13 episodes, every time I got out of Ed, he's like, play him thing. So I'd hear like, how do you get water from this thing here? And I, blew on the mic and top, because I had no fucking idea what they wanted, right? But he said, you do that for the show, you got the part. And so I'm like, okay.
That is funny.
So, like,
you know what?
okay.
I did know that story and I forgot it. And now it's come back to my brain.
Because you were there that day too.
Yeah.
Like it was the three of us for that. Yeah. Okay. Good.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Probably the role of the lifetime.
Yeah. For me, I like the description of Double D. There wasn't a lot to like. I just saw the picture, which was interesting, right? And that was really what the first. I think Danny said is that first his pitch to Cartoon Network was very simple. He just drew the ads and kind of sent it off to them and said. And I think they looked at it and went, "We're intrigued. Tell us more." And at that point, I don't know how much. Daddy's like, "Oh, well, I'd better start writing this show." I don't know how it worked, but they were intrigued by these three oddball characters that seemed like, yeah, we'd like to know more about these people. So when I got the description for the audition, it said, I think it said something like he's very, kind of anal and he kind of mumbles. And I thought, mumbles, right? So I look back, because that was what I was going on, because I just wanted to get the part, and like I didn't have a lot to go on, but I was
saying, I gotta find this character, and I'm trying to, he mumbles a bit, and he's not quite super confident.
So that was kind of my starting point. And I remember watching the show and watching the evolution of him from like first season, and I was that was what I was anchored to, was like, I think the first episode is when they're like about to hit this beehive that's in a tree, and I'm like, oh, careful, Ed, be careful. And I remember I was just trying to pay, so he mumbles and this, and I just remember the kind of first season was him kind of being, and he was the mass mumbler and tag your Ed, but as the show grew, by second season, he became much more loquacious and kind of more like asserted in his explaining everything, and he just became more like, oh dear, I cannot believe the injustice that has gone on here, and you go on these rants and tirades about how it's just not right. I can't believe you hurt, whoever. Jimmy is crying in that other room. You will go and apologize to him immediately. So he became evolved into this, like, from the mumbling thing to like, the moral, voice for Eddy in his head, right? He's, shut up, Double D. But it's like, so it did evolve, but that's what I kind of was going with in the beginning. Yeah.
If Ed, Edd n Eddy were to ever get like a reboot or a continuation, what's something that you'd like to see done with your specific character, like an arc or an episode idea that you want them to do for your character?
Right. I mean, it's continuing in the style of the show, because the show kind of had this thing where it was like, they're not, like in shows, they're not getting old, they're kind of in this perpetual purgatory, I suppose, in living these lives. I mean, it would be hard to see how they're going to evolve as characters enough to, but staying within their own.
It's funny. It's interesting. It's like the show you showed me last night. That guy that did Peach Creek, right?
Yeah, Peach Creek.
It would be sort of like in that vein where they've grown up, right? But still like them. I think that would about probably be the only way you could kind of. I mean.
But just for a personal thing of things that can be played out with the story, I mean, it revolves around, I don't know.
I would own a love shop. You get hugs and stuff. I mean,
I liked
Peace Shop.
Some of my favorites things about the Eds were the ones where we just went on, like the one episode, I can't remember the name of it right now, but when we get to the junkyard and there's just the van there, and then all of a sudden their imagination.
Dawn of the Ed.
Yeah, like that for me. Like
Eddy last night.
Yeah, that Dawn of the Ed, right? That might be like one of my ultimate favorite episodes, just because it kind of encapsulates what the essence of that show meant to me. Is just three young guys adventuring and their imaginations taking a hold of their lives in a junkyard, and all of a sudden it's like an invasion, and they're so that's one of my favorite episodes. So maybe more like just adventure stuff where they're going. I mean, Big Picture Show is kind of like a freaky adventure too. So I like those episodes where we all kind of, and sometimes Danny would come, like there would be some very surreal episodes where he would, you know, it's this like slight nod to the world of animation where he would, you know, and it was kind of like, I think it was like maybe his thing with Love for Tex Avery, how they would play with the animation world and make everything different, like the sky is ripping open and all those cool things. Yeah, I really love that stuff that's in the show too. So, yes, Ed.
I am Ed.
Yes, you are.
My question's for Matt Hill.
Hi, buddy.
I remember seeing in an interview once that you went to Jamaica once, and you saw this kid watching Ed and Eddy, and you kind of did your Ed laugh. And he's like, "You sound like Ed," and he said, "Oh, I am Ed." What was that kid's reaction?
It's wild because it's like so truthful. Because you know, you don't usually walk up to somebody just out of the blue and, you know, be like, "Oh, I am Ed," right, or you know, whatever. But this kid was there. He's watching the show, and I'm just literally standing there like, "Hello, buddy." He's like, you can sort of see this little like, and I'm like, "I am Ed." Yeah, yep. And you look over, and you know, then it was on, right? So I mean, so then I got really used to being able to just, you know, come in and just play with that character because he gives so much joy to kids to begin with. You know, because you were a kid when you were watching, right? You know, and now like that's what blows my mind. 25 years later, you know, we're celebrating this show that has a whole new audience because, you know, y'all are having kids as well, and you know, you're all adults now as well. But it's to me, it's a real testament to I think the brilliance of the show, right? And everybody who worked on it. Oh my God. Thank you. And thank you for liking the show all these years too. So, and I am Ed. Thanks, Ed.
Oh, me? So were you guys ever directed to like evoke a certain sort of tone by Danny? Because it might be just me. When I watched the show as a kid, I was very unnerved. I was actually very scared of several episodes. The Hardcore City one, that scared the crap out of me. I was so scared.
Which one was it again?
The one where they go to like that cardboard city and like Jimmy's trying to go around and talk to people and nobody's listening to him.
Oh yeah. Right.
I was scared as hell.
I mean, was it Danny's intention to put people on edge? I mean,
Yes.
I would never say no to that because Danny could put you on edge if you wanted to. But
He's the closest person that I've ever known that I've sometimes wondered was in the mafia. Because he's so direct and so, and I'm like, better get this right, Matt, because you may be killed at the end of the episode. But he's got a heart of gold too. But you know, but I mean, I think the thing with what I've learned, I guess, working with Danny and then, you know, with you guys as well is, sorry, his vision with it was so in his head, and that's where once we trusted in that and let go of trying to, you know, well, we need to be all actory with it, or we need to figure out what's the motivation. For me, at least, it was just like, just do what he wants. And come in as, you know, like in that case for Ed, thank God, you know, like come in as like stupid.
you leave your brain at the door, man.
Yeah, 100%, right? So the less I tried to sort of, you know, like, and then I would just come in and be like, okay, hi, buddies! You know, I'd be like, oh, okay, there's Ed, you know. And as long as he kept Danny smiling, I was like, okay, I did my job.
But
He didn't smile much.
There were a couple of times where it would be like, you always have one or two episodes where you're just like, it's whatever, it's not clicking, or people are getting hammered on a line or whatever.
It always came from, hey, this is going so good today. And then,
But it would be funny because it would be, Danny would be like, all right, let's just take a 5, I gotta have a cigarette. You know, it'd be like that kind of like, and then it would be like, you know, Tony would get out there and they're like, we're just.
remember Tony's like, good times.
Yeah, out front of the studio, just huffing, and then do the little big session, and then, all right, let's get back at it, you know, and then we go in again and eventually get it. So, but, yeah. good time.
Well, like it was the thing, right? Because it would be going so well, and sometimes it'd be like, you know, we might make it into like the afternoon part of the session, and then it would some reason it usually was when we said, "Hey guys, oh my God, it's flowing so good today," or even if we just said it to ourselves, so one of us would get caught, right? It'd be like, that didn't sound like, you know, Double D. Double D doesn't sound like that, you know. Usually I just blame it on Double D.
And I'd be like, look, man, I'm about the end of my rope of doing this guy. I can't do it anymore.
No, I'm just kidding. Double D to Eddy.
Well, let's just go this side of the first.
Oh,
No one coming in, sorry.
So, yeah. Mr. Awesome Hat.
I've been wondering about this for the longest time. What's under Double D's hat?
I know, I get it. Okay, disclaimer. Danny never wanted, it's like, doesn't matter, man, you know? It doesn't matter, that's not the point, you know, which, it's Danny. But then I was like,
Well, there's a lot of questions going on, and it'd be good to know what's under my...
but, okay, I came up with my own theory. I like it. I tell it whenever people ask because I think it's just weird enough to go, that makes sense, but really, no one knows and no one will ever know, and that's the beautiful mystery of it. But, I was watching a documentary about conjoined twins, and there was yes, it's pretty dark, but I was watching this documentary, and this event was in China. And there was this gentleman who had a conjoined twin, but the only portion of the conjoined twin was on his head, and it was a mouth with with an actual movable tongue, and it was just like a mouth with teeth and a tongue on his head. And I thought, that is dark. If that is Double D's secret, that's pretty cool, right? But he's covering that up, and then I thought, and it's perfect because it was his conjoined twin, and he's Double D. So his bro is hanging up there in his head, and nobody knows about it. Because there was that one episode where it came off, and I think you said, wow, or something. It was that was it. It was cool, and and it even made more sense. I mean, for you, if I had a mouth with teeth and a tongue, of course Ed would go cool. Because you love zombies and all that stuff. So that's my theory. If anybody wants to draw a picture of that, get creative, go for it. Bring it to life.
Have you
Anyway,
seen the movie *Malignant*?
I have.
So like that.
Well, I don't remember that. What was in the *Malignant* again? Tell me. Explain it to me.
That was the whole. She thought she was crazy and going off, and at the end of the movie, she has a conjoined twin in the back of her head that's taking over her body.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's it right there.
I was like, you're literally
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. So anyway, that's my dark and twisted mind at work there. I like it though. I like it as an alternate universe explanation. And you could see if you struggle with that as a and you just see Ed's mom going, it's like, well, Edward, what we're going to do is I knitted you this wonderful cap, and I know it's going to be very hard at school for you, so I don't want you to be like treated differently. So I'm going to put this on your head, and you will never tell anyone about your brother. It's like,
Oh, yes, Mother.
anyway, okay, that's it. I'm done with that.
Yes. Oh,
With me?
yes, you.
Okay. Well, I did have
Sorry, I'm
I
gonna do
did
that
have
all
a
day.
question, but to go off of the hat theory, Cartoon Network did have a flash game years ago of a food fight where if you play as Double D and he wins, he does throw his hat off and you see what's underneath.
Okay, and what happened?
It's nothing fun.
Oh.
That was the game I mentioned last night that I was a kid. But
Okay.
question was, so has there been a line or a moment in the show that has just stuck with you that you cannot get out of your head?
Like in a good way?
What else do they
Okay, well, how about the one that stayed in my head, but that was because we're alluding to sometimes you just get stuck in that thing. I mean, yeah, the laughs ones for me, but it was like literally our poor brother Eddy, Tony, who got stuck one day, and it was literally the line was, "Yep, good times," and he had to do like 100 of them. And it was just like, it was insane, you know. So that's not good.
Yeah.
My favorite line is, "Kick my feet, kick my feet, kick my feet." So that's, you know. What's more?
I don't know. It's hard to say.
There's a ton.
Sometimes it's just simple. I think there was one line I was like, and I'm not probably gonna misquote it. It was just like,
it was like, you're kind of in my personal space now, could you please go?
I mean, it's like,
Thank you.
or it's like those little stupid lines that he would be like, you know,
I think you're getting a little close to me now, Edward. Could you please wait a little?
you know, just stupid little lines like that. I mean, obviously he was like always oh dear and messy and stuff like that. I mean, the most fun parts were when he went off on a complete like hissy fit OCD tangent where he was just like losing his shit. Like those were the most exhausting but most fun ones when he was just absolutely. The one episode, I can't remember the name, or was it like the one about cleanliness is next, where he was just obsessed about getting dirty, and it was just like, and he was just like losing his mind. Yeah. Oh, but there's also one where he was getting hot and he starts like,
Oh, my.
yes, that I can't remember the lines, but I just remember that one as like he was like,
Oh, my, is it getting hot in here?
and he's like singing his nose off, and that was like, that one was so funny because it was like, ooh, this is weird. Like Double D was like,
I'm getting hot in here.
I was like,
To be fair, he was sweating.
yeah, I know, but it was just like the way I played it. I just like creeped myself. It was fun.
So the show's a pretty long-running show, and we talked about the retrospective of kind of like the darker interpretations of the show, or even not necessarily dark, but like things that aren't necessarily on the surface. And one of the things, I think, one of the reasons for that is because it's so focused on this group of kids, and it really goes out of the way to not show any tertiary, like unnamed characters, like really, like more than any other show I've seen, pretty much. And because the show was so long running, I was wondering if some of that that surrealist interpretation of the show, some of it was starting to become apparent to you guys behind the scenes while it was running, like while it was in production.
I mean, I wasn't like really aware of that. I mean, for me, it was more about, because I would find like some shows would be more surrealistic than others. Like some of them would be more kind of like a specific plot kind of driven stuff, and other things would just feel like it would, you know. One thing I liked about the writing on Ed and Eddy's is like it would always seem to like start on this one path that you think you were going, and all of a sudden, boop, we're going over here. Like you think like this is what the show is going to be, and then we just went somewhere completely different with the episode. So I like that style of the storytelling. Is like it just was so like it didn't like follow a certain thing, and you thought we were going here, and then we just went somewhere else, and then peppered in with like the surrealism of certain things. But I also felt like, I think there's also, what happens with the show is that as you get down into the more episodes, the challenge for the writers to try and come up with fresh ideas and come up with plots and try to keep the integrity of what you said, like there's no extra characters and trying to, and I think like bringing the school into the element kind of added that extra new location to kind of keep the thing, you know, moving with new locations and stuff like that. Yeah, but I'm not sure if the show, for me, it didn't feel like it was getting more surreal at all. I just felt like they were, you know, that's always the challenge of the writer. New ideas, let's keep fresh. We don't want to repeat the same thing. How can we not get people going bored or?
Well, you know what I think it's reminding me of, I think in many ways, what I think is so cool about that is, because look at this discussions that it brings up for people, right? But through it, we had to remain true to these characters that were written with such specific, say that word? Specificity,
Yeah.
right? So I think in many ways, that to me is a genius move on Danny and the writer's part, right? Because, they allow themselves to set themselves free with doing sort of different, ways to keep the audience going like, oh my God, I didn't think that was going to happen. But our characters, it was so awesome because we were, kind of in that way. They're like, yeah, nope, you got to stay in this, Ed lane or double D lane or Eddy lane, right? And so, yeah, I really appreciate that about the show. Absolutely.
I want to get you in there because I know you're probably blocked and people can't see you. So yeah, ask your question. You've been there for a while.
Either watching it or voicing it, what would have to be your favorite episode you worked on, and what would you say was your least favorite episode?
Well, Christmas is personally my favorite season, of the year. So for me personally, and then just being able to play Ed, absolutely destroying the house as he's putting the gravy cakes and Christmas lights up for Santa. For me, forever lives in my heart. I play that scene over again and again and again. Love it.
Yeah. And hardest, or least favorite?
And then the hardest. God. Towards the end of the run of the show, I found a couple of the episodes were a little harder to do because I think in many ways, Danny was really tired. We were getting a bit tired, I think, and so I don't know, but it was this pressure to be we gotta keep the pace on. We gotta, how many times have we heard, energy, right? And after a while, that was sort of the monotony of doing the show that way for me personally. I was sad when we didn't get picked up again, and at the same time, I realized, wow, we'd still, I think everybody would be doing a great job, but I think in that respect, it may have lost its, its spark, right?
It's hard to say there's what my favorite episode is, but that's a tough one. But I was gonna say, I really love the fact that we did holiday specials. That was a big thrill for me, just because growing up watching holiday specials and then you get to do one. I love Boo Ha Ha, I love the Christmas one. I love, so it's just great to do holiday specials because you're I feel like I'm a part of nostalgia. Because this is before I even thought, I didn't know this was gonna get that nostalgic for everybody. So this is before I was that there would be longevity to it. And then one of the most challenging sequences was the first kind of act of the big picture show, because it was just this intensity of we're all freaking the hell out, and there was this energy of it was we didn't, you're supposed to go, what the hell's going on with the Eds? And it was this, we were all at the nth degree of freaked out, and there's this frenetic pace to the whole show for the first 10, 15 minutes or whatever, and it's just and to maintain that for the whole thing was because you kind of take a laugh, and you go, no, you guys are more freaked out, I mean, this is the end of the friggin' world, man, and we're yeah, all right, oh my God, we're all gonna die. So it was doing that for an hour was woo. It was funny though, because that's intense. The thing I love about that opening to the movie is just because it is everyone's going, what the hell's going on, man? They're really freaked out. What's going on? So that was cool. That.
Excellent. Well, so we're gonna have to bring this panel to a close. Before we go, where can they find you all on social media?
Well, hopefully you'll be able to find Matt Hill soon on Instagram when he gets his phone upgraded.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna make it happen.
iPhone 6, people. iPhone 6. Because he's technically on there. Was why can I not get into my phone on Instagram? And I'm just on Instagram at Samuel Vincent Coot, Khouth. And that's the only kind of social media stuff I do, but it works. I managed to connect with some fine folk on there, so it's nice to share about animation and
Yeah, my handle when I figure it out is Matt Hill _inspire. My IG account, yo. And I am on Facebook. I do not log onto that, so you can, you know. I'm the one with the yellow runners. So you can, if you search Matt Hill, you'll see my yellow runners and a thing that says, I love it here, so. There it is. Thank you for loving the show.
yeah, thanks for you know.
Matt Hill, San Vincent, thank you for sharing this time with us and visiting us here in the QC. And thank you, audience. Have a great Planet FunCon, and please come see them at their table.
Yeah, keep on enjoying the con.
Thank you, Sparklies.